The fluorescent lights above the conference room buzz like angry wasps as I stare at the email on my laptop screen. The timestamp reads 11:47 p.m., and the subject line makes my stomach drop. Tech Forward Conference Speaker Confirmation. Urgent response needed. My hands are trembling as I scroll down to see the message that will either destroy my career or validate everything I've been fighting for. The scent of stale coffee and dry erase markers fills the air, and I can still hear the echo of my teammates' laughter from this afternoon's meeting. That cruel, dismissive sound that's been replaying in my head for hours. Sarah, seriously? You want to present that to actual industry professionals? Marcus had said, leaning back in his chair with that smug expression I've grown to hate. It's cute, but let's be realistic here. The others had joined in, their chuckles cutting through me like glass. Even my manager, Jennifer, had given me that patronizing smile she reserves for what she considers ambitious but naive ideas. But now, sitting alone in this empty office building at midnight, I'm reading words that change everything. Congratulations, Sarah Chun. Your proposal, Democratizing AI, a framework for ethical implementation in small businesses, has been accepted as a keynote presentation at Tech Forward 2024. You'll be presenting to our largest audience yet, approximately 10,000 attendees, including Fortune 500 CTOs, venture capitalists, and industry leaders. My coffee cup sits forgotten, growing cold as the magnitude hits me. 10,000 people, the biggest tech conference on the West Coast. And my idea, the one my own team laughed at just 8 hours ago, will be center stage. The email continues. Please confirm your acceptance by 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, as we have backup speakers on standby. I close my eyes and feel the weight of this moment, the texture of the worn keyboard under my fingertips, the distant hum of the building's ventilation system, the faint scent of Jennifer's vanilla perfume that still lingers in the air from earlier. 6 months ago, I was just another data scientist at Pinnacle Analytics, grinding through machine learning models and generating reports that barely got read. But I had this idea, this vision of how AI could be accessible to small businesses without the massive budgets and technical teams. I'd spent my evenings and weekends developing a framework, testing it with local businesses, gathering data that showed a 340% increase in operational efficiency for companies with fewer than 50 employees. When I finally worked up the courage to present it to my team, I thought they'd see what I saw. Instead, they saw a junior employee overstepping her bounds. AI democratization? Jennifer had said, barely looking up from her phone. Sarah, we work with enterprise clients. Fortune 500 companies. This small business angle isn't really our focus. But the market opportunity is massive, I'd insisted, pulling up my slides. There are 32.5 million small businesses in the U.S. alone, and only 0.3% are currently using any form of AI implementation. If we could capture even 1% of that market. Sarah, Marcus had interrupted, his voice dripping with condescension. We're not consultants for mom-and-pop shops. We build solutions for real companies with real budgets. The room had erupted in those awful chuckles, and I'd felt my face burn with embarrassment and anger. Now, staring at this email, I realized they were wrong. Dead wrong. Because 3 days after that humiliating meeting, I'd submitted my proposal to Tech Forward on my own, not as a Pinnacle Analytics representative, but as an independent researcher. I'd use my personal email, my own research, my own voice. And somehow, out of 2,847 submissions, they chose mine. My phone buzzes with a text from my boyfriend, Jake. Still at the office? You've been radio silent all day. I glance at the clock, 11:52 p.m. I should go home. I should sleep on this decision. I should probably tell my team, get their input, follow proper protocol. But then I remember Marcus's laugh, Jennifer's dismissive smile, the way they made me feel small and foolish for daring to think beyond their narrow vision. My cursor hovers over the reply button. 5 hours and 8 minutes until the deadline. Do I confirm my acceptance and potentially commit career suicide by going against my team? Or do I decline the opportunity of a lifetime because I'm too scared to stand up for what I believe in? The building settles around me with a soft creak, and I can smell the approaching dawn through the sealed windows, that crisp September air that promises change. What would you do if your biggest critics were about to become your audience? 2 months earlier, I was sitting in my cramped studio apartment in San Francisco, surrounded by printouts and sticky notes, when the idea first crystallized. It was a Tuesday night, and I'd just finished a video call with my mom back in Ohio. She'd been telling me about her friend Linda, who owns a small bakery, and was struggling to manage inventory and predict seasonal demand. She's losing so much money on spoiled ingredients, Mom had said, her voice heavy with concern. But she can't afford one of those fancy computer systems you work with. That's when it hit me. All these powerful AI tools we were building at Pinnacle, predictive analytics, demand forecasting, customer behavior modeling, they were locked away behind six-figure price tags and armies of technical consultants. Meanwhile, 99% of American businesses were left out in the cold. I'd started researching immediately. The statistics were staggering. While large corporations were seeing 15 to 40% efficiency gains from AI implementation, small businesses, which employ 47% of the American workforce, had virtually no access to these technologies. Over the next 6 weeks, I developed what I called the Accessible AI Framework, a modular system that could be implemented in phases, with each module costing less than $500 per month. I tested it with 5 local businesses: Linda's Bakery, an auto repair shop, a boutique marketing agency, a family-owned restaurant, and a small accounting firm. The results were incredible. Linda reduced food waste by 67% and increased profit margins by 23% in just 2 months. The auto shop improved appointment scheduling efficiency by 89%. The marketing agency doubled their client retention rate using predictive customer satisfaction models. But when I brought this to my team, they couldn't see past their own assumptions. The numbers look good, Jennifer had admitted during that fateful meeting. But Sarah, you're talking about completely changing our business model. We're not equipped to serve thousands of small clients. Our margins depend on high-value enterprise contracts. What if we licensed the framework? I'd suggested created a subsidiary or partnered with existing small business service providers. Marcus had rolled his eyes. Sarah, you're thinking like a startup founder, not like a data scientist. That's not what we do here. The memory still stings as I think about it now. Sitting in my apartment at 6:23 a.m., my laptop open to the Tech Forward confirmation email. I'd spent the entire night researching the conference, reading about past keynotes, understanding what I was stepping into. Tech Forward wasn't just any conference. It was the conference. Previous keynote speakers included the CTOs of Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. The audience would include decision makers from every major tech company in the world, plus investors managing billions in AI-focused funds. And they chose my proposal over nearly 3,000 others. The selection committee's feedback email, which I'd found buried in my spam folder last week, explained why Ms. Chen's framework addresses a critical gap in AI accessibility that represents a $47 billion market opportunity. Her pilot program results demonstrate real-world viability, and her approach to ethical AI implementation aligns perfectly with current industry priorities around responsible technology deployment. $47 billion. They saw what my team couldn't or wouldn't. My phone rings, startling me from my thoughts. It's Jake. Did you sleep at all? He asks without preamble. Not really. I walk to my tiny kitchen and start the coffee maker, the familiar gurgling sound somehow comforting. Jake, I need to tell you something. I explain everything, the tech-forward acceptance, the deadline, the decision I have to make in the next few hours. Sarah, he says after a long pause, this is huge. This could change everything for you. Or destroy my career if I present something my company doesn't support. What does your contract say about outside speaking engagements? I checked that last night. It's a gray area. I'm not representing Pinnacle. I'm presenting independent research I did on my own time. But still, they're going to be furious. Exactly. I imagine walking into the office next week after speaking at Tech Forward. The stares, the whispers, the inevitable meeting with HR. But then I think about Linda's Bakery, about the 32.5 million small businesses that could benefit from accessible AI, about all the ideas that die in conference rooms because someone decides they're not realistic or profitable enough. There's something else. I tell Jake, I reached out to Dr. Patricia Williams yesterday. Dr. Williams had been my thesis advisor at Stanford, and she's now a respected voice in AI ethics. When I'd sent her my framework documentation, her response had been immediate and enthusiastic. Sarah, this is exactly what the industry needs. She'd written back. I've been arguing for AI democratization for years, but I haven't seen a practical implementation framework this comprehensive. If you present this at Tech Forward, you'll have my full endorsement and that of the Stanford AI Ethics Lab. Having Dr. Williams' backing would be huge. But it also means I can't back down. Too many people are now invested in this idea. My laptop chimes with a new email. It's from Jennifer. Sarah, please see me first thing Monday morning. We need to discuss your professional boundaries and company loyalty. My blood runs cold. Someone told her about Tech Forward. Maybe Marcus, who loves to play office politics. Or maybe the conference organizers reached out to verify my employment. A routine background check that just blew up my life. I checked the time, 5:47 a.m., 13 minutes until the deadline. My hands are shaking as I open the Tech Forward confirmation email one more time. The cursor blinks in the reply field, waiting for my decision. But as I sit here, I realize this isn't really about the conference anymore. It's about whether I believe in my own idea enough to fight for it, whether I'm willing to bet my career on the possibility that I'm right and they're wrong. The coffee maker beeps, filling my apartment with the rich aroma of a fresh brew. Outside my window, San Francisco is waking up, delivery trucks rumbling down the street, early commuters grabbing coffee, the city preparing for another day of innovation and dreams. In 8 weeks, I could be standing on that stage, sharing my vision with 10,000 of the most influential people in tech. Or I could be updating my LinkedIn profile, looking for a new job after getting fired for insubordination. What defines us more? The risks we take, or the ones we don't? You did what? Jennifer's voice cuts through the Pinnacle Analytics office at 8:17 a.m. Monday morning, causing half the floor to look up from their desks. I'm standing in her glass-walled office, my hands clasped behind my back to hide their trembling, watching her face cycle through disbelief, anger, and something that looks almost like panic. I confirmed my acceptance to speak at Tech Forward. I repeat, my voice steadier than I feel. as an independent researcher, not as a Pinnacle representative. Sarah. She closes her eyes and pinches the bridge of her nose. Do you have any idea what you've done? Through the glass walls, I can see Marcus hovering near the coffee machine, not even pretending to hide his eavesdropping. The scent of his cologne, that aggressive bergamot he wears too much of, drifts through the air vents, making my stomach turn. I presented an idea to advance AI accessibility. I say, something that could help millions of small businesses while opening new market opportunities for our industry. You presented proprietary research developed on company time to a public forum without authorization. Jennifer's words are clipped professional, but I can hear the fury underneath. HR is reviewing your contract as we speak. My heart pounds, but I force myself to stay calm. Jennifer, I developed this framework entirely on my own time, using publicly available data and my own research. I can provide time-stamped documentation proving. That's not the point. She slams her hand on the desk, causing her coffee mug to jump. The point is trust, Sarah. Team loyalty. The fact that you went behind our backs after we explicitly told you this wasn't a viable direction for the company. You didn't say it wasn't viable. You said it wasn't profitable enough. The words hang in the air between us like a challenge. Through the glass, I notice that more people have stopped working to watch our conversation. This is exactly what Jennifer hates. Public scenes, office drama, anything that disrupts her carefully controlled environment. I want you to withdraw from the conference, she says, her voice dropping to a deadly quiet. Call them today. Tell them you made an error in judgment. I can't do that. You can, and you will, or you'll be looking for a new job by Friday. The thread is clear, but something inside me refuses to bend. Maybe it's the memory of Linda's grateful smile when her bakery's efficiency improved. Maybe it's Dr. Williams' encouragement. Or maybe it's just that I'm finally tired of being told my ideas don't matter. Jennifer, I say carefully, what if I'm right? What if this framework could generate significant revenue for Pinnacle? What if Tech Forward leads to partnerships, contracts, licensing deals? For a moment, her expression wavers. I can see her calculating, weighing the potential upside against the risk of losing control. Then Marcus appears in the doorway. Jen, sorry to interrupt, he says with fake concern, but I thought you should know Tech Forward just posted their speaker lineup on social media. Sarah's listed as senior data scientist, independent AI research. A few people are already asking if she's left Pinnacle. My stomach drops. I hadn't anticipated that the conference announcement would create confusion about my employment status. Jennifer's face goes white, then red. Get out, she tells Marcus, who retreats with obvious satisfaction. Then she turns to me. Fix this. Immediately, or I'll fix it for you. I walk back to my desk in a daze, aware of the whispers and stares following me. My phone is buzzing with notifications, LinkedIn messages, emails, even a few Twitter mentions. Word is spreading faster than I expected. But among the chaos, there's a message that makes me stop cold. It's from David Park, managing director at Quantum Ventures, one of the most prestigious VC firms in the Bay Area. Ms. Chun saw your Tech Forward listing and looked up your preliminary research on AI democratization. Would love to discuss potential funding opportunities for commercial development. Are you available for coffee this week? Funding opportunities. Commercial development. I screenshot the message and stare at it, my mind racing. This is what I dreamed of, validation from the investment community, the possibility of turning my framework into a real business. But it's also exactly what Jennifer fears most, me becoming a competitor instead of an employee. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Jake. Saw the Tech Forward announcement. LinkedIn is blowing up. How are you holding up? Before I can respond, another message comes in. Then another. By lunch, I've received 12 inquiries from investors, 3 partnership proposals from consulting firms, and an interview request from TechCrunch. The framework I developed in my spare time, the idea my team laughed at, is generating serious interest from people who understand its market potential. But with each message, I feel the ground shifting under my feet. This isn't just about giving a conference presentation anymore. It's about choosing between safety and possibility, between staying in my lane and betting everything on my own vision. At 2:30 p.m., I'm called into HR. "Sarah," says Rebecca from Human Resources, her voice professionally neutral, "we need to discuss the implications of your Tech Forward participation." She slides a document across the table. This is a cease and desist order regarding any public presentation of research that might conflict with Pinnacle's intellectual property or competitive interests. I scan the legal language, my hands growing cold. This would prevent me from speaking at Tech Forward at all. That's correct. Even though my research was conducted independently, the determination of what constitutes independent research is complex, especially when conducted by a current employee. Rebecca's expression is sympathetic but firm. We're prepared to engage legal counsel if necessary. I think about my savings account, barely enough to cover 3 months of San Francisco rent. I think about the legal fees, the career damage, the possibility of being blacklisted from the tech industry. But then I think about David Park's message, about Dr. Williams' endorsement, about the 10,000 people who will be in that Tech Forward audience, many of whom have the power to make AI democratization a reality. What if I were to resign from Pinnacle? I ask quietly.
Rebecca's eyebrows rise slightly. That would certainly change the intellectual property dynamics. But Sarah, you should think carefully about such a drastic step. How long would I have to make that decision? The cease and desist takes effect immediately unless you're no longer a Pinnacle employee by 5 p.m. today.
Today.
In less than 3 hours. I walk back to my desk, my mind spinning. My computer screen shows 17 new email notifications, including one from a reporter at Fast Company who wants to write about the small business AI revolution.
This is spiraling beyond anything I imagined.
What started as a simple conference presentation is becoming a public statement, a career pivot, a leap into the unknown. Marcus appears at my cubicle, his expression uncharacteristically serious. "Sarah, can we talk privately?" We walk to an empty conference room, the same one where my team laughed at my idea 6 weeks ago. The irony isn't lost on me. "Look," he says, closing the door, "I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Jennifer's been on calls all afternoon. She's talking about making an example of you, showing the rest of the team what happens when people go rogue."
Why are you telling me this? He looks uncomfortable.
Because I've been thinking about what you said in that meeting.
About market opportunity, about AI accessibility. And honestly,
the response you're getting suggests maybe you were onto something. I stare at him, speechless. "I'm not saying I agree with how you handled it," he continues quickly.
"But if you do resign and start your own thing,
I might be interested in discussing opportunities. Quietly, of course." Marcus, who laughed the loudest at my presentation, is now hedging his bets. It would be funny if it weren't so revealing about office politics and human nature. My phone buzzes with another message from David Park. "Actually, forget coffee. If you're serious about commercializing this framework, I'd like to set up a proper pitch meeting. This week if possible." 4:23 p.m. 37 minutes to decide whether to quit my job and bet everything on an idea that my own team dismissed as unrealistic. The afternoon sun streams through the conference room windows, casting long shadows across the table where I first shared my vision. In the distance, I can see the San Francisco Bay, dotted with sailboats and possibilities. What's the difference between confidence and delusion? Between calculated risk and career suicide? In 37 minutes, I'll find out. 6 weeks later, I'm standing backstage at the Moscone Center, listening to the roar of 10,000 voices settling into their seats. The smell of industrial carpet and coffee mingles with my nervous sweat, and I can feel my heart beating against the wireless microphone clipped to my blazer. 5 minutes, Ms. Chen, the stage manager whispers, her headset crackling with technical chatter. Through the gap in the black curtains, I catch glimpses of the audience, a sea of faces illuminated by phone screens, tablets, and laptops. These aren't just conference attendees, they're the decision-makers who shape the future of technology. CEOs, CTOs, venture capitalists, researchers from every major tech company in the world. Somewhere in that crowd are Jennifer and Marcus from Pinnacle Analytics. I'd heard through mutual connections that they'd registered at the last minute, probably to witness what they expect to be my public humiliation. Sarah Chen, founder and CEO of Democratize AI, comes the announcement over the sound system. Presenting Breaking Down the AI Ivory Tower, a framework for universal technology access.
The title still feels surreal.
6 weeks ago, I was Sarah Chen, junior data scientist. Now I'm Sarah Chen, CEO of a startup that officially launched 3 days after I resigned from Pinnacle, funded by a $2.3 million seed round led by Quantum Ventures. The decision to quit had been terrifying but surprisingly simple. At 4:47 p.m. that Monday, sitting in my car in Pinnacle's parking garage, I'd called Rebecca in HR. "I'm submitting my resignation, effective immediately," I'd said, my voice steady despite my racing pulse. "Sarah, are you sure about this?"
"I'm sure."
By Tuesday morning, the cease and desist was void. By Wednesday, I was in David Park's office, presenting my framework to a room full of investors. By Friday, I had a term sheet.
The startup world moves fast when you have something people want.
But none of that matters now as I walk onto the tech-forward stage, squinting against the spotlight. The auditorium stretches beyond the reach of the lights, a vast darkness filled with expectant faces. "Good morning," I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system. 6 months ago, I had an idea that my colleagues thought was naive, unrealistic, and commercially unviable. A few chuckles ripple through the audience. I spot a familiar face in the third row, Dr. Williams, beaming with pride. They said small businesses couldn't afford sophisticated AI tools. They said the market wasn't profitable enough to pursue. They said I was thinking too small for the big leagues, and too big for the small leagues. I clicked to my first slide, a photo of Linda's Bakery in Ohio, warm light spilling from its windows onto a quiet main street. This is Linda's Bakery in Middletown, Ohio. 6 months ago, Linda was losing $3,000 a month to spoiled inventory because she couldn't predict seasonal demand. Today, after implementing our AI framework, she's reduced waste by 67% and increased profits by 23%.
Her monthly AI cost? $127.
The audience is quiet now, leaning forward.
I can feel their attention like a physical force.
Linda represents 32.5 million small businesses in America alone, businesses that employ 47% of our workforce but have been locked out of the AI revolution by cost, complexity, and condescension. I click through case studies from my pilot program. The auto repair shop that improved scheduling efficiency by 89%, the marketing agency that doubled client retention, the restaurant that optimized staffing and reduced labor costs by 31%. The framework we developed, now commercialized as Democratize AI, breaks AI implementation into modular, affordable phases. Each module costs less than a typical business software subscription, but delivers enterprise-level insights. 20 minutes into my presentation, I notice something remarkable happening.
People are taking notes.
Real notes, not just photos of slides. Phones are coming out to record key points. I can see executives in the front rows texting, probably to their teams about market opportunities. The total addressable market for small business AI represents $47 billion in the US alone, I continue. But this isn't just about market size. It's about market justice. It's about ensuring that the tools reshaping our economy are accessible to the businesses that form its foundation. I click to my final slide, a world map showing AI adoption rates by business size. The disparity is stark, a digital divide that separates those who can afford innovation from those who can't. When we keep powerful technologies locked behind seven-figure price tags and armies of consultants, we're not just missing a business opportunity. We're perpetuating inequality. We're saying that innovation is a privilege, not a right. The auditorium is completely silent now.
10,000 people hanging on every word.
But when we democratize these tools, when we make them accessible, affordable, and understandable, we don't just help individual businesses. We strengthen entire communities. We level playing fields. We turn technology from a source of division into a force for opportunity. I pause, scanning the audience, finding Jennifer's face in the crowd. She looked stunned, possibly re-evaluating everything she thought she knew about market potential. 6 months ago, my idea was laughed out of a conference room. Today, Democratize AI has pilot programs running in 47 states, partnerships with 3 major small business associations, and a pipeline of 12,000 interested customers. The numbers hit the audience like waves. I can see people frantically taking notes, hear whispered conversations starting despite the presentation still being in progress. We've proven that there's no such thing as a market that's too small, or an idea that's too simple. There are only assumptions we haven't questioned and opportunities we haven't recognized. As I wrap up my presentation, something unexpected happens. The applause starts before I finish my closing remarks, a rumbling that builds into sustained clapping that goes on for nearly 2 minutes. But the real validation comes afterward, during the networking break. I'm surrounded by a crowd of executives, investors, and journalists. Business cards are being thrust at me from every direction. People are talking over each other to get my attention.
Sarah.
A familiar voice cuts through the chaos. It's Marcus, looking simultaneously embarrassed and hopeful. Incredible presentation. I was wondering if we could grab coffee later? I've been thinking about what you said, and I might be interested in discussing opportunities. Behind him, Jennifer stands at a distance, watching the scene with an expression I can't quite read. When our eyes meet, she nods slightly, not quite an apology, but an acknowledgement. Dr. Williams appears at my elbow. Sarah, there are 3 Fortune 500 CTOs who want to discuss enterprise partnerships. And someone from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy wants to talk about federal small business initiatives. The White House. 6 weeks ago, I was worried about getting fired. Now I'm being invited to discuss policy. My phone buzzes with a text from Jake, watching the live stream.
You're trending on Twitter. I'm so proud of you.
As the crowd around me grows, I think about that moment in the conference room when my team laughed at my idea.
How small and foolish they made me feel.
How close I came to just accepting their judgment and moving on. But standing here, surrounded by people who see the potential I saw, I realize something important. The difference between a good idea and a bad idea isn't always apparent in the room where it's first presented. Sometimes it takes a bigger room, a different audience, a willingness to bet on yourself when no one else will. 3 months later, Democratize AI closed our Series A at a $47 million valuation, exactly matching the market opportunity figure I'd presented at TechForward. We now have 127 employees, including 5 former Pinnacle Analytics staff members who joined after their company tried unsuccessfully to launch a competing product. Linda's Bakery has become something of a poster child for AI democratization, featured in Forbes and Harvard Business Review. But she's just one of 8,000 small businesses now using our platform to compete more effectively in an AI-driven economy. Sometimes the biggest risk isn't taking a chance on your idea, it's not taking that chance at all. Looking back, I realized that the moment I clicked confirm on that TechForward email wasn't just about accepting a speaking engagement. It was about accepting myself as someone whose ideas mattered, whose vision had value, whose voice deserved to be heard. The laughter in that conference room wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of a much bigger one.